I'm Angela Oguntala. I'm a futurist. I work in foresight and innovation, and I help organizations around the world to think about, to plan for the future, to innovate for the future. And a lot of that in this moment is really about understanding, in a world of radical change, how do we make sure that we are not just trying to predict what is next, but that we are actually building the kind of agility where we can innovate and navigate and understand and lead regardless of what is next. So that is core to the work that I do, innovating for the future, navigating the future, but mostly understanding that the future is a new thing that happens every single day. There isn't a fixed destination or a fixed point that we are heading towards. And how do we have the kind of flexibility and also future readiness mindsets and skills that will allow us to navigate any future we come to find. What I think is really important for leaders right now who are trying to lead and navigate and importantly innovate through uncertainty, what is important is to first be able to not have a sense of fear that things are uncertain. And when things are uncertain, of course we'll look around us and we will see things breaking. You'll look around and you'll say things are not working the way they should, because that is what always happens in a world in flux, in a world of radical change. So what is important is to be able to see reality for what it is. Itemize it. This is what is breaking right now. And then the other thing that is important to do is to say, great, we are in a moment of wild and radical shifts that we see around us. This is not the moment. I truly believe that this is not the moment for incremental innovation or for just doing with our heads down, just trying to keep up. When we are in a period where we see huge, radical, transformative shifts around us, which is what we see, that is the exact moment to be thinking as big and bold and radical about what future do we want to build. If so many things are in flux right now, what is the larger vision forward? So first, see what is breaking, then understand the bigger picture, the bigger vision you want to build in place of what is breaking, and then be willing to or build a culture of experimentation. How can we experiment with those small and big and medium-sized ideas, prototypes, trials, so that we can build that future? And if you are willing to assess what is breaking, imagine in a big way what you want to build instead, your vision of how tomorrow can be better than today. And if you're willing to experiment, you will be capable of navigating anything, any uncertainty that the future brings. One of the biggest things that I think is so important that we need to do to become future ready is to stop seeing the future as a fixed destination. One day, X is going to happen. And what happens is that, of course, when we see the future as this one thing, we are building our strategies, our mindsets on top of a static world. And we know that the world isn't static because clearly we are living in a world in flux. We are living in a world of unpredictability, of rapid change. And so the most important thing you can do is to not see the future as a destination, but to see it as a process that you actively shape every single day, where yes, you're always or continually assessing what's not working, imagining something better, being willing to experiment. And when you do this shift from the future as a destination to this core mindset shift to the future as a process, this is where you will find that you stop bracing. You know, we often find ourselves, I'm waiting for the future. I'm bracing for the future, especially in a world in flux. You stop all that and you start to see that I'm acting on the future every single day. I know what to do. I know how to shape the future. I know what my role is. I know what part I want to play. And that is a really critical shift from destination to process. One of the most important skills that we will need to navigate the world that we're going to see in the next 10 to 20 years is cognitive flexibility. And you can take all of it out and just call it flexibility of how you think. So are you able to shift perspectives? Are you able to update your belief systems when you see the world around you is changing? Or you're like, no, this is the way we've always done it, and this is what it is. Are you able to be a creative problem solver? So all these aspects of how do we think in agile ways? How do we have this kind of adaptive thinking? The more we can build that, the more we will be able to not necessarily fear, which of course is what a lot of us do when we see the world around us being radically different than before. It's natural to be like, this creates a sense of discomfort inside of me. But when you have this adaptive thinking, when you have this cognitive flexibility where you can do these things, shift perspectives, update your belief systems, be a creative problem solver, want to be flexible at work to learn from how other people around you are solving problems, this is going to be one of the most important skills that we can hone. One of the most effective ways for organizations to create an environment where you can fail and you feel comfortable trying new ideas, testing new ideas, and not that there's going to be huge repercussions if those new ideas don't end up entirely working out the way you want to. The way you do that is through experimentation. If you build a culture of everyday experimentation, and that culture can be at a large level, so people around you are seeing these large macro ways that the organization as a whole is experimenting with new ideas, huge transformations. It can be on a micro level. So in my everyday work, I can see and I'm encouraged to experiment with new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking, new ways, new rituals, new protocols. In a meso level, which is that you see all of this experimentation happening around you and you feel compelled or you are encouraged to say, hey, I'm working on this idea and you're kind of working on an idea that could be synergistic. How can my experiment or what I'm trying to do leverage or support the kind of experiments or prototypes or risk that you are taking? And when you build a culture where you see everyone around you every day being willing to try something new, even if it's on the smallest level, that is what builds a culture that is willing, where everyone is primed to evolve, to grow, to take risks, to be willing to experiment. And so it's all about building those layers. There's levels to this thing, building those levels of experimentation. With AI and other multiple advancing and colliding technologies, emerging technologies that we see, companies can balance being able to participate in these new opportunities, new ways to see, to do things that we in no way could see and do before, which we can leverage AI, we can leverage data, we can leverage a lot of new technologies and platforms to do those things with ethics and responsibility, by not only trying to focus on what's new and what's next and how do we keep up, but by equally focusing on, let's take AI, human-centered AI, or human and AI co-intelligence or partnership. And then what you do is you think about, well, what does good look like in these contexts? If we are thinking about what does good human and AI collaboration look like, then we have to think about, okay, what tasks, which decisions, what roles should we partner with AI on? In leadership, in creativity, in our organization. Is it only AI that creates new ideas, new products, new things, and then we become curators? Or do we fundamentally believe that creativity and ensuring that we have a foundation of that is important in our organization? The same thing with leadership, the same thing with meetings. Yeah, we can have AI twins, we can clone ourselves and just deploy it to take our meetings for us. But then what does that mean for collaboration and belonging and all of these larger questions? So for me, the most important thing is to think about, what are we moving towards? What are our principles? What is our larger sense of good when we think about deploying and using AI or any other technology, and then bring that back to say, great, now that we have that bigger vision, what do we need to do today? How do we innovate? How do we use and deploy these technologies?